my brother was just literally, we were in my parents' house at that point,
Yeah.
so I was just like, who's going to play drums? And I just literally walked into the house, walked into my brother's room and go, do you want to play drums in this thing that we just made up a minute ago? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So
So he's the guitarist and the producer for Phoxjaw, a band on the rise from Bristol. They've performed at festivals all over. Please welcome Josh Gallop to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a lovely Monday. Just ready to get this out as soon as possible.
Nice.
So just kind of the first question to start off. What was like your first experience with music, or what made you first get into wanting to make music?
So it's a funny one, but my both my granddad and my dad played the drums. Mm-hmm. So there was kind of like with me and my brother who plays drums in Phoxjaw, we've been around music sort of since day one, really. So there was always a drum kit set up and stuff like that. So it's just kind of about when we were growing up, and then I think we went to see Linkin Park as our first gig we ever went to, me and my brother. And then from there, like I can't remember what you said on stage. Chester said something like, "This could be you one day if you just keep working at it," sort of thing. And I think that always just stuck with me.
And now it is you.
Yeah, so we're getting there, we're climbing up, but yeah.
So if you had family that like played drums, what kind of made you want to go towards more guitar rather than drums?
Yeah, I think because I did start off playing drums because obviously there was just a kit in the house, but my brother got on the kit as well, and he was just so natural at it, and I was almost like, oh man, I'm gonna do something else now because you're good at drums. It's almost like you. So I picked up the guitar, but then that meant we could like jam songs and stuff together, so that was quite cool. So we used to just play like Metallica songs like in the kitchen, much to our neighbours' disappointment.
And so has it been kind of music from a young age, or was there anything else you might think you might have done in life?
No, it's always kind of been something creative. I used to be into like art and stuff like that, drawing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But kind of as soon as music came in, it kind of wiped everything out. As soon as I started playing the guitar, I kind of just that became the center of my universe, and then from there I kind of started producing stuff as well. So I got into the whole recording engineering side of it as well, and then that's been it ever since, between guitar and producing. So it's just all consuming. Kind of, I'm one of those people who just gets obsessed with things. So I just go at it.
Yeah.
Like tunnel vision,
Mm-hmm. And so what, like, whether it's just continuing to do it, trying to focus on it, what tips or advice would you give to other people who are just starting to get into music, whether it's with a band or on their own?
I'd say just do the playing of the music first. Like, you can worry about all the other stuff that comes with it, like how to market yourself and stuff like that, but it's the age-old thing, but everything's about the song. If you don't have a song, then you've really got nothing.
Then there's nothing to market.
Exactly. So it's like, you can get carried away on thinking of how we're going to hack the mainframe and like get the song out and stuff like that, but you need that song in the first place, and if you're in a band, you need people to play that song with, and you need to be good at playing that song. So there's so many steps, but I'd say like if you're interested in getting in bands and doing that thing, it's just get in the room and play and figure out how to do that and how to communicate with people about your ideas, and just have a good time doing that. And then as that comes on, you'll start to figure out the other stuff, because you can learn the other stuff, but just actually getting in there and putting the hours in the band practice room is the way. That's what I'd say to anyone anyway.
Yeah. And so like you kind of grew up, like you said, just jamming out, playing with your brother, and then now you're the guitarist for Phoxjaw and other bands. Have you ever done any like individual music projects, or have you always kind of done something as a group?
I've always been in a band. That, I don't know, like the idea of standing on stage myself or something would just freak me out. I think I like the kind of unified vibe of like some mates doing it all together, and there's like vested interest and keeps you kind of accountable for like doing stuff. If you like, you've got a few people working on something, it's like, right, have you done that thing that we're gonna do, or have you written that song, or if you worked out that lead guitar or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I like the idea of doing it together, and I think there really is something in the collaboration of like songwriting. Even if you look at kind of more solo artists and stuff like that, you often find that they've collaborated with a few people in the studio to actually get to that point, because it's really hard to just be a solo person.
It's a song released by an artist, but then you look at the credits and there were like 2 producers and 4 writers, and so.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the same with the band. Like, that's what you do. You bounce your ideas off of different people, and you need that to know if it's any good or something. So I've always just liked that idea. I've been in, like, I was in metal bands when I was younger, like with mates from school, and then I started a band with my brother once his mates were like sort of old enough to go and play gigs and stuff like that. So I started shouting basically in that band, and then then got onto Phoxjaw.
And so, with the like you said, production and learning how to produce, like the more technical kind of side of music, have you ever thought about like producing for other bands or artists, or have you just like learned that as a tool to help you with Phoxjaw?
Well, initially it was just to start me recording my own band at the time, sort of thing. One of my old bands, I just started learning because I was fed up of not being able to have like a demo or something like that. So I just learned and watched all the videos in the world. But then as I got into it, that has become my job. So my full-time job now is I'm a producer, and I produce for other bands, and I produce for Phoxjaw, and I do a lot of that stuff, and I work out of a studio near me doing that stuff. So that is my day to day. But it's funny how that kind of stuff happens. Like, I figured out that I could take that demo process that I did just for myself and for my band, and I could apply that to my mates' bands, and then from there you do a good job with your mates' bands, and it just kind of goes out, and people were like, you can record, can we come record with you? And it just goes from there. So
like, being in a band or any sort of group setting, there are obviously positives but also negatives to it. In any of the bands you've been in throughout your life, has there ever been anything that made you want to kind of take a step back or think about taking a break from music? Or
No, I've always had this very, like, I'm always very focused on, like, music is what I want to do, and I've always wanted to be in a band, and it's just kind of been my focus. Like, there's never been like another person who's made, or another band member or anything that's made me want to just pack it in or whatever. I've always thought I'm going to find a way to do this music thing, like however I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? My biggest problem back in the day was just like, obviously, some people like get into different stuff, and they have a career where they want to do something else, or they need to make money, or they've just got different ways they want to live their life and stuff like that, and they're not willing to throw everything at it, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, can't expect people. You're almost insane for being that person that wants to just throw away, everything else and get paid less, and it is insanity really when you think about it. But I've just always been like that. I've wanted to do band stuff, but man.
And that focus on music, does that come from kind of your dad and your family members being so ingrained in music and playing all these instruments?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they both my granddad and my dad played, but they played in different groups and stuff as we were growing up. But I mean, there wasn't like no one was in like a touring band or anything like that. But I think it was just the growing up and seeing all the bands that, like, on Kerrang, which is over here, and on MTV, I guess, for you guys, right? That kind of stuff just got me really into it, and I was like, then I started watching people's like tour videos and just watching that, and I was just like, whoa, you can like do this for a job and just go to different places and like play your gig and then like get paid for it, and I was like, that's the best job in the world. So from that, I suppose, getting into music was through my dad and my granddad and stuff like that. But yeah, actually sort of learning it could be a like career. It's just kind of like chatting to my mates and watching lots of stuff online and when I was younger.
And so it seems like once you kind of got like found out about touring and whatnot, you kind of wanted to be a live performer. You wanted to be in a live band rather than a more like recording focused band. How have you kind of used that to like influence or think about your music? Do you ever think like, oh, like this would be cool to do live, or like how could I transform this into a live performance?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's always been a balance. I mean, I've just been into the being in a band thing. I like every element of it, like even down to the like sending emails and like getting everything ready for an album release. Like I still to this day I do a lot of the album inlay stuff, like, and all the
so you
bits
like
that.
Kind of handle like some of the managerial stuff also.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I mean, we've got a manager and stuff like that who's way better, and that's what he does. But like some of the like more admin-y kind of type things that just need to get done day to day for the band. That's part and parcel to being in a band for me. So it's like I've always just like, if there's something that needs to be done, and I don't know how to do it, I just learn how to do it, so I can just get it done and don't have to like wait for someone else to do it or something like that. It's just been the way I am. I'll just hyper focus and go and learn a task and learn how to do it and then do it. Yeah, I mean, as for the recording live thing, it's always been both for me. I've realised the importance of both. Like, I love seeing bands go out and play live when I was younger, but I also love listening to records, and I bought like CDs when I was younger. So again, from a young age, I appreciate both things. But I've always liked, there's something that happens live. Obviously, it's just you're there and you're appreciating that moment. I've always loved that live thing, and knowing that sometimes things go wrong as well, like at gigs, and sometimes things mess up, but the crowd that night are the only crowd that are going to ever get that. Do you know what I mean? They've got that unique experience with this band where something crazy happened, or
unique experience, and also just like an authentic experience. Like when you listen to a recording that's been listened through hundreds of times by whether it's the band, producers, mixers, like editors, whatever, even sometimes publicists, and then when you listen to it, it's going to sound the exact same every time and like sound as clean as it can. But when you're live, maybe the band tries some cool new riff or something, or like adds a solo in here, or sometimes like they just have a piece of tech not working right, or the lights don't go off at the right time, and so.
And that's a complete unique experience for that crowd that night. And if something funny happens, like they'll be able to say forever, "Oh, do you remember that gig when that happened?" I mean, I have one myself. Like, I went to watch Bring Me Horizon when I was younger, play a place just near me in Bristol, and there's a power cut like just halfway through the gig, and so rather than the gig just being pulled, some of the guys from Bring Me Horizon just went round the back of the venue, sat on top of a storage container at the back of the venue with acoustic guitars, and just basically played acoustic guitars and shouted the lyrics. And there was, full circle pits and people moshing to someone unplugged on an acoustic guitar and shouting a lyric. And that was a completely unique thing that happened that day that probably no one else in the world has got to see.
It's not every day you see mosh pits to acoustic guitars.
Exactly, unplugged as well. Just like you can barely hear it. You can hear the people singing along more than you can what was going on. But that was a total unique experience, and I live for that stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so, how did you first start or get into Phoxjaw? Was there a moment that kind of gave you the idea for that? How did it start, basically?
Yeah, so I knew Danny, who's our singer, since we were younger. I mean, we used to he went to a different school to me, but we as soon as we met each other at this kind of youth, it's like a youth kind of gig place where young bands got to play, and we sort of met each other there. And his band used to play a lot, and my band used to play a lot, and we'd play on a lot of the same lineups, and a lot of our friends. And then we started hanging out, with the people who liked alternative music in their school, and we just started hanging out. And then I've always had an eye on his band that he was doing before called Black Elephant, and vice versa. He was always like had an eye out on mine, and then sort of our bands that we were in separately kind of came to an end a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And then we decided I'd recorded some of the last stuff that his old band did, and we really got on really well, like doing that bit in the studio and stuff, and just we had like a chemistry of bouncing ideas off each other. And he was just like, we should write some music sometime, you know, no pressure, but we could just like write it and see what happens, sort of thing. And as soon as we started writing music together, we were like, oh, I think we're onto something here. I think we got something cool, like with the way that the different worlds that we both come from, but actually bringing them together. And so it went from there. And then obviously my brother was just literally, we were in my parents' house at that point. So I was just like, who's going to play drums? And I just literally walked into the house, walked into my brother's room and go, do you want to play drums in this thing that we just made up a minute ago? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So kind of went from there. And then we've been for a few guitarists since we started, and we've had keys players and stuff. But we've got Alexander Scher, who was also from another Bristol band. He's sort of completed the lineup with us. So yeah, and it's been us four rocking out ever since.
How have you kind of found when a band kind of rotates a few like members or goes through different members or phases? How do you like? Is there any way you see that affect the band at all, or have you kind of just continued to make music the same way?
I think we've always had like between me, Danny, and Kieran, who were like the original sort of members that started it. We've always had like a pretty clear vision, and me and Danny, especially in the early days, did a lot the writing. Really, we did all the writing. So it's always been between us, pretty much like what Phoxjaw sounds like and what Phoxjaw is. And to this day, I still speak to Danny like every day, and we call each other and stuff, and we're always talking about the band and stuff like that. So it's always been this thing that me and him have had, and we've just always needed like another guitarist or people on the side because we've got ideas above our station, basically. But yeah, there definitely is a difference. I mean, our first guitarist, Glenn, definitely had like a vibe that was really cool, and if you go back to our early stuff, you'll definitely hear his style of playing, and it's really cool. But I think you just got to lean into what everyone's good at. Do you know what I mean? Like our guitarist now is a great singer as well, and he's a great performer. So whereas we might have it sounded a certain way back here, it sounds totally different now, and I think it really suits our style. The fact we can lean into him for a lot of harmonies and even his writing style. He like writes a bit with us now. Well, he's actually on the record that we're doing at the moment. He's written 2 whole songs that he brought to the table, and that's the first time that's happened within Phoxjaw, that someone's actually brought a full song that isn't me and Danny, and we've sat and listened to it and sort of made changes and whatnot. So it's really cool. He's like added like another thing to our band. So I think it's just about using the different members and using their strengths and stuff like that, and just appreciating what you've got with a certain member, because everyone's got their own styles, and just lean into that as well. A bit like Queens of the Stone Age, how they'll just get like different members and like they'll do a bit of a different sound, or they'll do a different thing with a different drummer or something, something like that. I think we just kind of treat it like that. It's an opportunity to do something cool with this person. Do you know what I mean? Rather than being like, oh damn, we lost that guitar player. Do you know what I mean?
You just kind of focus and go off of who you have in the moment. You're not thinking about the person who left or who might come after that person. You're just...
And to be honest, for the majority of the band's lifetime, it's been this us four now. The 4 that we are now, it's just like it's been who it is. So we're pretty confident in what we've got now and what we do with it. So, and I wouldn't change it for the world now.
And no matter who the members were throughout since the start, it's been Phoxjaw, right, for the name?
Yeah. So it's always been Phoxjaw.
So how did that name first come about, or what's the meaning behind that name?
This is always a funny one, but I think genuinely the thing was when we were writing some of the first songs and stuff like that, we were always doing it like after work, late at night, out in this outhouse thing in my parents' house that I basically we built so I could record bands in. So we were always out there, sort of working on it. And every night we'd leave the studio, like maybe we'd go to the pub or we'd just go off home or whatever. And we'd always see foxes out and about, because it was like in suburban England, it's like there's foxes just everywhere. So as soon as, and they're out at night, so as soon as we finish the session, we just see loads of foxes. We're like, that's cool. We keep seeing foxes. Just bank that in the brain. And then we were just hunting for band names, and we're just like, what's a cool word? Jewel. Cool. Let's do that. But then we changed the PH, because we just thought that was a bit cooler.
You got to change it up somehow.
Yeah. I think there was another band as well called Phoxjaw with an F. So,
really?
So we were just like, we'll avoid that and put the two words together, whereas the other band had Fox, Jewel.
Oh, yeah.
So we're like, and change the words. So sneaky.
And so a lot of bands or just individual artists kind of, they try to make sure in any song that they make, they have kind of a catchy hook or like 15 seconds that might sound good in a TikTok or some media marketing that they could do. What do you think that has done kind of to the music industry? And do you kind of find yourself at times trying to make something catchy that could be good on social media?
I think it's about context with this kind of stuff. I think like we are a rock band who are in our late 20s sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it would come across as a bit cheesy if we started doing dances to our music on maybe it would work, I don't know. But no, I mean, I can see that it's got a place for some things, and like there's going to be some artists that is going to absolutely be their crowd, like, you know, kind of younger people on TikTok sort of getting down to that. But I mean, if you look at the people that are into our stuff, I think they're into longer formats of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like we still sell quite a lot of vinyl and stuff like that, and people really, really invest in the band with vinyl, and our label, like, it's something we've always pushed from day one is vinyl. So I think that kind of shows us about the people who like our band and how they like to consume music.
Yeah.
So I just feel like we're not pushing hard to do the other thing, because we know what we like, and we are fans of the stuff we like. Do you know what I mean? So like I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on any of that stuff. Like it just doesn't interest me. And I kind of apply that. I just go, well, someone like me wouldn't be into that. So at this point, I don't really see like it being a thing.
Well, there are like the young artists who come out with like a pop single, and then they do like so much promotion of it in whatever ways they can on social media. And then they're kind of bands more like you, where like you work on an album and put it out, and then the fans not only like listening to it, but like they like a more authentic or like tangible style of listening to it with vinyls or CDs or whatnot.
Yeah.
And like for a while, I didn't really like understand vinyls, and then actually just last week I bought my first ever like vinyl record, and I've like had it, it's somewhere around here, but I've had it like near me ever since, because it's just like it's like having like holding a piece of the band with you, and so I think
tangible. It's like tangible. It's real. You can hold it.
Yeah.
It's like it means something. You went and got it or whatever.
You're not just like tapping a song on a screen. You actually like are it's as close as you can get to like holding a song, kind of.
Exactly. What vinyl did you get?
I got a Vessel by 21 Pilots.
Okay, sick, nice. Yeah. Okay. So have you got a record player?
I have a record player.
It's funny because some people do collect vinyl but don't have.
As like almost as like decoration or as aesthetic. I have a record player. I do have CDs of 21 Pilots without a CD player though, so that I get.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, it's always been that's been the way we do stuff, and I think people appreciate that. I think it would be the wrong way to go to try and make our band something that it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it doesn't have a place, but for us, it just seems...
It wouldn't feel true to who you are, kind of, as a band.
Yeah, I think it would maybe just cheapen our music a little bit. Like, I'm not saying that that's not a good thing to do if you're into... Because I make some pop music with...
to each
pop,
their
pop
own.
Yeah, I make pop music with pop artists in the studio. Do you know what I mean? And like, I can see that it has value for someone who makes that kind of music. But just what I think people who like Phoxjaw into, it's not really an avenue would rather push. I'd rather spend time and make little cool interludes that go on a vinyl, and people can sit with their headphones and listen to that. I think that's a better use of our time than doing shaking our ass on TikTok.
Yeah. And so when you're coming up with a new song for the band, what does that process kind of look like? Do you try to like write lyrics and then find an instrumental that fits that, or do you kind of just let a song come about however it comes about?
Yeah, so I mean, it's usually music first with us. It's usually we'll just play around. Like, either me and Danny will meet up and we'll start writing stuff, or Alex will bring an idea, and we'll just sort of flesh it out together. We're a band where we write stuff together in a room kind of thing. Not particularly in the practice room, but we'll still us four or whatever. We'll sit around the laptop and we'll try stuff out and record stuff in and see how stuff fits and that kind of thing. And we try and do it's the John Lennon thing. It's like we'll try and finish an instrumental in a night. So we're excited about it. That's always been the thing. It's like if we start like around 6 o'clock, by kind of 11, 12 o'clock, we'll try and have like somewhat a structure for a whole song with all the instruments that we kind of see happening on it. And then we'll just put it up on Google Drive or something like that. And Danny will basically listen to it while he's at work, and he'll come up with some lyrical concepts and stuff, just based around how the song sort of sits with him and what the different sounds make him think of, and the way that it makes him feel in that moment, or whatever he's got going on at that point in time. And then we'll sort of go from there. We'll throw some ideas around. It's funny because we usually like name these ideas like silly names, like when we make them.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time they end up sticking because we can't like get rid of them because we know the song so much as that thing. Like, we've been working on a new track, and it's called The Last Mackerel, because someone just said let's name it that after demoing it for like a few hours, and then we've literally not been able to get rid of that name. We're just like, well, that's what it's called now.
You're just so used to calling it that.
Yeah, so and then we'll spin some way of like getting that title into like the lyrics somehow, and that Danny's got a wonderful brain where he can make that sort of stuff work, and the way our band is and what we like to sing about and stuff, we're all about that kind of Alice in Wonderland wackiness, absolute craziness. So it kind of works with what we're doing.
And so I don't know if have you been watching the Beatles docuseries on Disney Plus? Like the Beatles came out with it.
Get Back, yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you watched it, but it was exactly what you were talking about. John Lennon was talking about, and I think it's great that you found that you can do this. He was saying like when you think of a new chord or a new song, whether it's writing lyrics or like playing an instrument, in that moment try to finish it or like do as much as you can in that one sitting. And he was talking, and I think it was George Harrison was like, I literally can't get myself to do that, and so like I'm glad that you can.
Yeah. It's something that resonated with me when I watched it, because we've been doing that anyway. It's not like we heard that and then decided to do it. It's like
it's just something you've had as a part of your creative process.
We feel really excited about the idea the night that we make it, so you want to use that excitement for the idea.
It's like something new. It's like it has literally just been made right there in front of you, and so it's new and exciting.
So it's exciting. So we try and use that energy to sort of keep us going. Like even if we have to, stay up late and when we mess ourselves up for work the next day or whatever it is, we'll always find a way just to like get them as much as we can done on that song in that night, just because I think it does bring something.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're coming up with a new song, do you think, like, do you try to keep it unique and like your own like Foxjaw sound, or do you kind of take inspiration from other bands and like try to put your own spin on things?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely take a lot of influence from stuff we've been listening to. I mean, the stuff we've been writing more recently is definitely way more eclectic to, so maybe some of the stuff that was on our last album. Because we all listen to so much varied music, but
Yeah.
almost the way the music we've been listening to comes like into us, and then we pour it out of ourselves into that. That's the filter. Do you know what I mean? So it does naturally end up sounding like a Foxjaw song, even if we're trying to go for something else, because like we're the filter to get the stuff down. So it seems like whatever we try to do, it seems to sound like Foxjaw at the moment, which is good. I think we're really sort of pleased that when people talk to us about it, that comes across. People are like, this definitely sounds Foxjaw, and we're like, oh, wicked.
Yeah, because there are definitely some artists you can tell who like when you're listening to the song, there's like an obvious song or like album that they had been listening to or took inspiration from. And so I think it's awesome that you find a way to consistently like make it unique or make it not sound exactly like anything else.
Yeah, I think the important thing with any artist is just make sure your influences are eclectic. Don't just be influenced by one thing at a time, because that's how you will just end up writing someone else's song. And I've done it before, and I've just wrote my own stuff. I've just been listening to one thing and been like, man, I want to write a song like that. And then I'll sit down and I'll write a song, and it'll be like the thing.
Well, yeah, like make sure whatever you use is inspiration and not literally just copying in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know, it's like we'll do something and we'll be like, oh, we want to do this really heavy track that sounds like, I don't know, Sun, the really doom metal band.
Yeah.
But then we'll be like, oh, but I really like that song from Charlie XCX where it's got the crazy like high vocals or something like that, and then we'll be like, bang. And then that'll be like the thing. We'll pull a lot of influence and a lot of different stuff, and we'll just smash stuff together, and then through our filter, it usually ends up coming out like Foxjaw. So it's a good process. I'm pleased with that.
And so whether it's like you as a producer or like wanting Phoxjaw to have a collaboration, is there any artist or band, like if you got your pick of any artist or band in the world, is there any one you would want a collaboration with?
I think it would definitely be someone outside of our genre. Like I think it would be fun to work with someone who brings something very different from us. Like for example, I'd love to do something with Charlie XCX. Like a remix or I don't know, something like that. I mean, like just really just like something that's completely out of our world. We're a rock band and like we play all live instruments and stuff like that. But just to do something with someone who's a totally different end of the spectrum, who we really respect, or like we always used to chat about. I don't know if you know the artist Sophie.
I don't know.
No, she's in that kind of like world. It's like a hyper pop kind of artist, but unfortunately she passed away in the last couple of years. But we always said that she was one that we'd love to collaborate with, because just some of her stuff sounds crazy, and it's almost like her music's in the same spirit as Phoxjaw, but just on a different genre. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like you could feel like she likes to push the boat out and get experimental, but in her genre, and it was always felt like we got that.
Well, and it does seem like you're experimental also, if you want to kind of blend like pop or all these different genres with this kind of rock, or like you were even saying like at times like heavier kind of grungier sound with these like happier pop sounds. And so I think if you could find an artist to do that, that'd be like a super cool sound.
Yeah, for sure. Or someone like Gary Newman or something like that. Someone like it's kind of like someone who we all rate the music of, and it's a dark kind of electronic kind of sound that we all really like. Or someone like Robert Smith from The Cure or something like that. He's got a bit of a different sound. Yeah, something like that. Someone who's it's just completely not really in our world, but we could get on with over music and the way we like to approach music. I think that would be the ideal collaboration.
And so, again? Well, I guess for this one, every time you've performed live has kind of been with a band or like in a group setting, and so is there any like dream venue that you have, whether it's because it's just super well known or like you have just like dreamed about like being on that stage wherever it is and like just having a live performance in that arena?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a bucket list I kind of made when I was younger, and I've already managed to tick one of those off, which is cool. There's like the venue I grew up next to. We went to first gigs by myself with my mates and stuff like that. It's just the O2 Academy in Bristol, but we did that one a couple of years back. So that was like a one like bucket list tick, because that was like a important venue to me growing up. Like, I used to go down there with all my mates and watch bands and stuff when we were like 14. So that was the first one, but we're doing another one this summer, Download Festival in the UK, and that was the first ever festival I went to, like just going to watch, and it was like my favourite festival, and I always like watched the live videos before I was old enough to go and stuff like that, and then I finally went. So that was like a bucket list one. I was like, I'd love to one day play that, and then we're actually doing that in the summer. So that's like another one that is sort of ticking off. And then the only other thing, I mean, there's loads of stuff I'd love to do, but the only other one I had on my bucket list, I'd love one day to play with an orchestra.
Yeah.
Doing like arranging our songs around with an orchestra and just feeling like the weight of
having like a cinematic, or like you can like feel the big kind of band or orchestra setting playing the music.
Quite a few bands have done that kind of thing. I mean, Metallica did S&M and stuff like that, and I think Bring Me and Architects have done stuff like that since, and loads of other bands have done it. But it must be quite a crazy, unreal feeling to have like a whole orchestra,
playing your song
around your songs, like and playing on stage with them and feeling like the whole orchestra behind you. So that's another one. That's like one day I'd love to do some version of that. That would be insane.
Yeah, and so whether it is Download or that small theater near where you grew up, what was that moment kind of like? Well, I guess Download hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know on Download.
But like finding out that you would play it, or for the theater when you did actually go and play it, what was that moment like for you?
Oh, it's great. It's just like a really like, I don't know. It just makes you go, oh, you can actually do stuff. Like if you just think about something and work really hard at doing it and keep plucking away and don't give up on it, you can kind of get to do stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Are those cool kind of like moments that you like I made it moments that you kind of felt, or like
I don't know. I think it was just sort of like I don't know.
Like, wow, I'm really doing this kind of.
It's just like it's just a really lovely feeling. Do you know what I mean? To imagine something for ages and then finally be on the stage doing it and be like, man, you can actually do what you want, and you can take that into different aspects of your life if you really work at something and try and make it happen. And it's just proof that you can do shit. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we had one just before the pandemic and stuff like that. We went out and we supported Zakk Wylde playing on a cruise in Sweden. Like, if you told like 14-year-old me that we'd do that's absolutely wild. I would have been like, get out of here. Do you know what I mean? Like, how are we doing that? Yeah, we flew off of a tour that we were on. Do you know the metal band Loathe?
Yeah.
Loathe. Yeah, so we were on tour with them, and then we actually took a few days off that tour to go over to Sweden to play on a cruise, to then fly back and jump back on the tour, and it was just the most insane thing. It was like, and we were just sort of sat there having this really nice Italian meal on the cruise, just about to go play before Zakk Wylde, and we we're just like, boys, what is this? This is utter madness. Like, how did we find ourselves here? Like, and this is those moments are the ones to cherish. Do you know what I mean? Like, just you sat around going, this is crazy, man. Like, we never thought we'd be here.
Yeah. And so whether it's another artist song that you had a hand in producing or a song by Phoxjaw, is there a song that you've kind of helped make that's your favorite?
Oh man, that's a tough question. That's a real tough question.
You don't have to have an answer if it's too hard to choose from all of them, but
I'm really proud of our song Teething, because it's done really well, and I think from the looks of it, I think it feels like it means a lot to people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely our biggest song at the moment, and from chatting to people, like it's the song that I could go and chat to someone that I don't really know that well, or like vaguely knows me, and they'll be like, "Oh, I heard that song Teething, and I love that song." And it's like, it's people that aren't even into the genre of music that we make, but they've been like, that song is really good, and like it just seems to connect with a lot of people, and people seem to really rate it. And we kind of had that feeling that it might do that when we recorded it in the studio, just to know that like that feeling that we had when we wrote that song and how powerful we thought it was back then actually carried on through.
Actually happened, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of it took our band up a peg. Do you know what I mean? In where we are with stuff, and just got us lots more stuff. Like, I mean, it got played on like Radio 1 with Annie Mac and stuff like that, and just really, really ridiculous like stuff that a band our size you don't expect to have that sort of radio play, and it just did something else for our band, and it's just so I'm super proud of that one, to be fair.
Yeah, and so those are all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great time. And I feel like I've learned about not only you, but also the band as a whole. Where can people find you online? Instagram, websites, anything you have, where can people find you?
Yes, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We've also got like our merch store, which is just a Bandcamp page. So it's phoxjaw.bandcamp.com. And pretty much through those 4 places, you can find everything that you need to know about us. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming platforms you want. We're not on TikTok. I doubt we'll make it there, but we'll see. Never say never, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You can find us. If you just put us into Google, you'll find us.
All right. I'll leave a link to all that down below, and thank you again for coming on.
Amazing, man. Lovely to speak to you.